Rejection always sucks, but unfortunately it's something we're all going to have to deal with and face at one point in time throughout our lives. I found this article in The Guardian called A Loser's Guide to Dealing with Rejection, and I thought it would be kind of cool for Hasan and I to go through ways that we've dealt with rejection and suggestions from this article. Basically, they say that no may never be music to your ears, but you can learn to take it with dignity, or at the very least, store up ample fuel for your revenge. So this article kind of goes down different scenarios in which you might feel rejected or actually be rejected, and how you can kind of come back from that. So I thought we could just talk about this a little bit. All right, so they talk about rejection in the workplace, romantically, which is I think people will jump to, friendships, children, I loved that one, on a dating app, social media, at a new job, and by the public. So Hasan, of what I just mentioned, is there a particular part of rejection that sticks out to you, that stings extra hard?
Stings extra hard? I would have to go with romantic relationships.
Is the worst rejection for you?
I mean, it's the most common that happens to me, I feel like. No, I don't mean that in a, no, but like, look, I don't mean that in like a, oh, I get rejected all the time, it's really sad kind of way. I mean that in a—
Don't get rejected.
No. Of course, there are people, like, not everyone's gonna like everyone. That's just the way of life,
it's just
right?
The odds.
The only reason why I mention that is because I feel like when I'm single, I have more opportunities to be rejected in romantic relationships than anything else, because usually in the workplace, I get rejected as well. I get rejected everywhere. We all do, but I feel like that's the one that is more common.
Okay, so it's
we even talked about it before we went on the show, if you remember, with a particular individual that I went on a date with, who apparently
you were rejected.
was using the date. Well, I mean, we still hooked up, but like she was using the date just to showcase everyone that we all know.
Would you say that,
because we're all
quote,
friends with one another.
She was storing up ample fuel for her revenge?
I think she was storing up ample fuel.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, maybe she read this article.
Maybe she read the article.
Okay, so we went on a date. It wasn't like the best date, obviously, and we left on interesting terms. And then later, just today, months later, I found out that she was live messaging everyone.
Weren't you doing that too, though?
I was not. I was not.
After the fact, though.
After the fact, I came, after the fact, you always do that though. Like you send out like text messages to your best friends that you've pre-prepared where you're like, this is what happened, and I don't know what the deal was.
I don't know how I feel about it.
No, I feel weird. No, it was a really poor date, as you remember from my perspective as well, except I wasn't really using this as an opportunity to, kind of be like,
and this is a good example of how rejection really sticks with you. Another rejection I wanted to point out that I thought this was a good article that brought it up is rejection by children. I think hurts a lot, and I would stretch that out into rejection by children and or pets.
Please explain. Please.
Have you ever met a kid or a pet? And I'm not saying that pets are the same as kids, although I realize how that might have seemed that way.
And not only, like, she doesn't mean rejection as in, like, inappropriate sexual advances.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that at all. I mean, like, if a kid...
Because you were just like, rejection by kids, it's the worst, right? When you want to just touch a boy or something, and then they're just like, no, I'm a child.
I mean, like, when you go to, like... Oh, hey, kid, I'm your babysitter. Like, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna play this game, and the kid just cries and says, "I hate you. I don't like you. I don't want you to be my babysitter."
Stings.
That sucks.
My nephew.
Right. See, it does hurt.
Me.
And same with pets. Like, for example, I'm trying to think of, your friend gets a kitten, and everyone loves this kitten, and the kitten loves everyone except you. Doesn't want to sit on your lap and always goes on another lap. And it's embarrassing because it's like, what's wrong with me? And,
Why can't animals that like everyone else not like me? I fed this kitten so many. I bring catnip.
Can I just say the advice from this article is just to make sure that you, for children, you work into how they play favorites. So they just say if you're being rejected by a lot of kids, just gifts.
Jared Fogle, if you were rejected by a lot of kids, you just give them a lot of
gifts. We're gonna move on real hot and quick to social media and dating apps. Have you ever experienced relationship rejection in that capacity?
Well, so social media and dating apps is an entirely different, completely different medium than like real relationships, I feel like.
Yeah.
And some people do actually launch real successful relationships off of social media and dating apps. I have not. I'm just gonna put that out there. So for me, it's more like that's just social media is just an extension of going to a bar and
I don't think that
trying to
affects
hook up
me
with-
that much.
What?
Social media rejection doesn't affect me. Like
Well,
that doesn't sit with me.
But like define it though. Is it like you're on Tinder or?
It's for example, if you post a status about something and maybe your political views and a bunch of people just shit on it and you are just getting, all this sort of hate because of how you feel and who you are, or a picture and someone, doesn't like your picture, no one is swiping right on Tinder. That sort of rejection actually really doesn't stick with me because I think, as you pointed out, it's not real, it's not tangible.
It's not, it's not, there's no real human interaction, I feel like, we're from an older generation at this point though, unfortunately, so like the way we process this sort of stuff, it might be different than the upcoming generations of 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds that are like living in this world where this is very much a part of their culture, so they might take that differently. I can't speak for that, but for me, I see social media as something entirely different than interpersonal relationships, so it doesn't really bother me at all.
Okay, and then the last one I want to talk about with you is rejection by the public, and I think this is something we can both relate to given our chosen career paths. How do you deal with any sort of rejection or hate that gets thrown your way in the public forum?
I don't know, I brush it off. Look, I think, so I don't know what this article, like what the main message of how to combat rejection is from this article. I will
say it's very anecdotal.
Yeah.
It's about how this particular person deals with being rejected a lot.
Yeah, it's a little pseudoscientific, right?
Right, it's not at all scientific.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know if we can just say like this is the Bible of how to combat rejection, but the way I deal with it is, I think like dealing with rejection has a lot to do with your internal confidence and like how well you regard yourself, how high your self-esteem is. So I don't really care when members of the public or when people in YouTube comments or when people tweet at me negative things. And this happens very frequently, just like you said, because of our jobs. We talk about something that emotionally connects with a lot of people. And they want to voice their opinions. And I don't really care about it because I'm comfortable with what I do. I'm happy with what I do. I'm happy with my life and where I'm at in my life and in my career. So it doesn't really bother me because I always see it for what it is. I feel like not rejection, but when people are trying to have a negative impact on you, it usually has a lot to do with their own personal issues rather than what they see and how they feel about you in particular.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say, there's one quote from this article that I really agree with. If you're dealing with rejection in sort of any of these capacities, they say, quote, "Rejection is an express lane to underdog status, and you know how much everyone loves one of those." So even if you are dealing with a lot of rejection, I think, it really can just make you stronger and it can help you to grow. But we want to hear from you in the comments section below. What is the worst that you've ever been rejected? How do you deal with rejection? Let us know, and we will see you next time on Pop Trigger.